So good afternoon, everyone. Once again, my name is Roy. I'll be the moderator for this executive panel. So, it's so grateful that actually we have this set of esteemed leaders and experts that can join us today, this afternoon, to share the thoughts. Because in the IDC playbook, we have a lot of insights, right? But I think it's important for us to unpack them with the real world, real business context of how it really impacts the way that actually we operate and the way we drive AI adoption. So maybe as a quick round of introduction, why not we do, introduction starting from Heng side, to do it for yourself and also the company, please.
Okay, thank you, Roy. Just a little bit background about myself. My name is Heng. I am a director at Synnex Metrodata Indonesia. I've been with Synnex Metrodata for about 16 years today. And for the last 10 years, 11 years, I'm managing the technology solution business for Synnex Metrodata. As well as I have a role in KORIKA. KORIKA stands for Collaborations Research Innovation Industry for Artificial Intelligence as a VP for Industry and Business. And KORIKA itself is rooted with the government. It started off as BPPT back in the days. Thank you.
Very nice, thanks. How about Joy?
Thank you. Salamat sore, everybody, pronouncing that right. My name is Joy. I'm part of the organization called meldCX. meldCX stands for Melding the Customer Experience. We are a vision, IoT, and AI-based company headquartered out of Melbourne, Australia. My role is really to work with strategy and partnerships teams for our group internally to help drive real-world use cases for our customers. So I love this because it puts me right in the front and center of all the fun, challenging, and interesting use cases that we have. So I'm looking forward to share more about that today.
Thank you. And Scott, please.
Hey everybody, Scott Tease here. I'm the Vice President and General Manager that covers all of our enterprise products. So you heard earlier from Tom, he does a lot of the consumer-based products for the enterprise. I've got all the data center and edge products. So server, storage, software, solutions. Been with Lenovo for a little more than 10 years now. I came as part of the IBM acquisition in 2014. So really great to be here with you today.
So earlier he was also introduced as the King of Neptune. Okay, so let us dive straight into it, right? I think there is quite a bit of discussion around where enterprise really are. We need to set in some reality checks around that. The playbook, right, the CIO playbook, which you guys hopefully have downloaded or is going to download, right, shows that while 56% of organizations are piloting or systematically adopting to AI, many are still in the very early stage and struggling to scale the enterprise-wide. So maybe what we can do is this, right, from the panel, maybe in your opinion, a very honest opinion, right? Within your organization or your customer's organization today, right? On AI maturity curve, whether they are at the pilot stage or selective scale stage or enterprise-wide adoption already, what has been harder than expected for them, right? Maybe we can again start from Heng.
Okay, thank you, Roy. In my experience, with the enterprises in Indonesia is actually pretty much aligned with what is the finding within the CIO playbook. Majority of them are at early stage or piloting. And at Synnex Metrodata Indonesia, actually we are at the heart of AI transformation as we work with our partners providing all the whole ingredients for this whole digital transformation process for their customers. And we see varying degrees of stages of AI implementations, as well as varying degree of AI readiness. And at my role at KORIKA, we actually work with a lot of stakeholders from the government, industry, community, associations, educations as well, to help accelerate Indonesia on AI maturity curve level. And we made actually significant progress last year. Two of the things that I'd like to highlight is that we submitted a document called Readiness Assessment Methodology. That document is actually based on UNESCO framework to determine whether a country ready to implement AI ethically and responsibly. That document, we are proud enough to be the first nation in the region to submit such document. And last September 2025, we already come up with roadmap of AI as well.
Very
in
nice.
Indonesia.
Good. Thank you. Joy, how about you?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this question a lot. I think similar to what Heng mentioned, and I'm looking forward. I've got the QR code downloaded. I really want to see what the AI readiness checklist looks like too. I think for meldCX, when we're talking about our customers, we definitely do see a difference between namely two groups of organizations. One is what we call the digital first native organization. So these are, companies that are very similar to like Grab, Gojek, even ourselves as meldCX, born off the cloud, with the cloud, for the cloud, have coded for the cloud. I think that's one organization that is digital first, and then obviously there are the rest that have existing legacy infrastructure and policies. What we see is that these organizations that are digital natives or digital first are usually a little bit further on, and that's a very wide ballpark to talk about, but that's what we see. And what we have is we have our own methodology as well, so I'm looking forward to compare that. Our own policy or our own magic quadrant for meldCX is really around 4 key segments. So one is if they're a digital native, 2, if they operate in a data-rich environment, 3, if they have certain processes in place, and then number 4, if they've got good leadership and backing to run AI use cases. So that's how we do our development and our strategy. And I think what's been harder than expected, quite frankly, is how do we find a medium between all of these? And how do we also find the middle ground between competing interests of different business groups, between IT and risk and compliance, or several key strategic business units? That's been
The
I think,
multiple
hardest.
stakeholders that need
That's
to
right.
manage through, right?
That's right. How do we stitch it all together? So huge shout out again to the Lenovo team for that key phrase about how CIOs now have to be the orchestrator. So I think that's really in line with that.
They now have a seat in the board, right?
That's right.
Scott, please.
Yeah, so what you've seen in the playbook so far is we're making a shift this year from building models where we're training a computer to do something that we thought a human needed to be involved in, building those models, to now we're trying to implement those models at scale. And the skills and the expertise that you needed to build the models are very, very different than the skills you need to put this into operational, ongoing at scale. Very, very different. I think the people that are struggling getting the AI to scale are people that are treating AI kind of like an experiment. They're just building the model to show that they can do it, not planning for that kind of that long-term, ongoing, keeping the model evergreen, keeping it up and running. This age of inference that we're heading into, to me, is the most exciting part of AI, because this is where people are actually going to experience AI in action. Like when an employee uses AI in their AI PC for the first time and they're more productive, they're actually going to understand why AI is so powerful. When a customer uses it and they get more, they feel closer to their vendor, to their supplier, and they increase loyalty, that's where they experience the benefits of AI. So it's critically important that we get it running, but it's very different skill set than what it took to go build the models out.
So maybe, Joy, we can dive a bit deeper when earlier you mentioned about the multiple stakeholders, within the organization. Do you see, or what are the real friction that happen across the organization? Can you give some kind of insights to that? And probably the CIOs in the room can also think about it, right?
Yeah, I know. I feel like I'm going to dish some dirt now, but that's not what I'm after. But I think really couple of friction points, or I'll list it down into 3. The first friction point is definitely what is the outcome that's going to work for all of us combined? What's really going to make sense for all our business? And that's where I think the push and pull happens the most. Retail ops wants this versus marketing wants this. I think that's a key one for us to unpack together. And I think the next 2 are more infrastructure based. I think the first one definitely to look at is, especially from a CIO perspective, is how do I, one, make the choice on whether I want to retain existing legacy infrastructure, or number two, build infrastructure that allows me to grow as more and more of my AI use cases grow. So I think that's definitely one that we have to overcome, because from a POC perspective, which is what we're all talking about, as we move from a POC to an enterprise environment, I think, you know, by nature of it being a POC, it's meant to be, you know, high impact, you know, low effort from everyone, right? So you're using what's available, you're trying to prove a business case. When you move to a deployment scenario, you're naturally wanting to build and scale and do a lot more. So that's where I see it, like, you know, making that choice. And sometimes it's a middle ground, right, between budget and cost, and how do I put myself in place for that? And then the third one is naturally what Heng mentioned as well, is security and compliance risk. You know, am I storing, capturing, processing in line with global standards? You know, am I also making sure that I've got that so I can satisfy my customers' requirements as well? So those are the three that I see.
Thank you very much. Anything to add, Scott?
Yeah, I just one thing to think about. A couple of years ago, I was in Singapore doing a version of this, and it occurred to me, sitting with the CIOs there in Singapore, how different the CIO's job was going to be in the future. AI was going to change their job altogether. And the reason I say that is, think about most of the decisions that you've made in the past for your company's technology. What database to run? What operating system are you going to go with? Are you going to go with VMware, Nutanix? You as a CIO or your staff made all those decisions. With AI, you're like an organizer. Your team may understand the AI technology, but they likely don't understand the business cases that the lines of business want to use that AI for. So you really need to become like a partner with the lines of businesses, a partner with the manufacturing team or the finance team or the legal team to go figure out how to apply the AI to the challenge that they're facing. So your job has changed quite a bit, and I think that's a challenge for some CIOs, but it is the nature of what your job is going to be like in the future, is bringing different groups together. You can't make all these AI decisions solo. It has to be in partnership.
Indeed, indeed. So maybe closer to home, right, Heng? What do you think are the areas whereby the Indonesia companies or the broader system within Indonesia have overestimated our AI readiness, right? Is it skills? Is it data? Is it the hardware infrastructure? Where are the areas that you see, you know, that have these kind of hotspots?
Okay, I think this is also aligned with the finding within the playbook, because I read the playbook beforehand, and most of the enterprises, they often overestimated their AI readiness in skill and data, not so much on the infrastructure. And this is actually tied into the whole concept of digital transformation, whereby you actually rely on what I call is the trinity of digital transformation: people, process, and technology. So most of the enterprises also in the past, and even until today, are overestimated their readiness in people and process instead of technology. And I think with that said, with the whole changes for AI transformation itself within the skills and data, it relates to the process and the people, whereby the infrastructure tend to be not so much constant, because today with the infrastructure, you can run it, invest it with the hybrid model infrastructures, as earlier this morning has been mentioned as well.
Yeah. So some food for thought again for the CISO in the room, you know, where exactly are the gaps and where probably are the areas that actually we will need to work on together, right? So another theme coming out from the CIO playbook, right? From experiment to enterprise value, because many of us are very concerned with ROI, right? So the insights from IDC playbook shows that 88% expect positive ROI. But many of the CIO then say that the value often comes from non-financial outcome. First, right? Probably you don't see financial outcome as an immediate reward coming out from your AI deployment. But it is relating to speed, resilience, and decision quality, right? So maybe for the panel again, right? which AI use cases actually move the needle for the business and which look promising but fail to scale? Maybe Scott.
You know, I think the ones that are going to be successful are the ones where you gained agreement up front. I talked about a few minutes ago the fact the CIO team has got to be working in collaboration with the lines of businesses. It's not as easy to gain agreement across those different teams as to what like a winning scenario is, what the positive ROI is. So starting off with that as a good foundation, I think no matter what type of AI you're running, whether it's computer vision or generative or whatever it might be, defining what success is before you spend any money is a really big part of making sure you're not wasting time doing these things that just waste time and money. So I think that's just a simple one I would suggest is make sure before you even start the project, you've got agreement about what you're going to call success and what the ROI you're looking for is.
What are the outcomes that you want?
What are the outcomes you want to see? Yeah, make sure of that before you ever start.
Yeah, good. Joy, how about your view?
Yeah, I was actually during our panel sit down. I was actually most excited about this question because I feel it's something that we don't talk enough about, but it's actually true, and it's something that we see a lot in field as well. I think to Scott's point as well, you know, the new role of the CIO, and also to what Roy mentioned before. I think from a CIO perspective, we also need to get used to the fact that we might be trusted advisors itself, where the need for technology or that request actually comes from the specific business unit coming back for advice, and then from us as a CIO group out. One of the key things that I just really wanted to bring up was we worked with a customer in Australia. They were a large shopping center and retail mall group. They own more than 200 centers all across Australia. And this was actually a request that came from retail ops itself back to IT, and then obviously back to meldCX, where the business case and the need was actually really simple. It started off with, I'm taking over this digital assets, which is screens, all across the shopping center. I'm taking control of these digital assets. I want to make sure that I can milk them, I can get money out of it, I know what my spend is, and I want to get alternate revenue from these screens. Can you help me, IT department? So that was the question, right? So that was that. And from there on, like what Scott said, sometimes it's easier when that business need comes because that outcome is there already.
When they are clear, right?
That's right. And so that return back in terms of that ROI started off first with a data catchment exercise. So it started off from a POC that was really about understanding who's looking at the screen, for how long, why, and what attracts them in terms of content. And then from there, which is to that point as well, really helping to make good quality data decisions came about through that, but we were then able to say, okay, based on this demographic, let's adjust our strategy to be able to, get what we need, create the right rate card, and also sync pause data into the meldCX platform and ingest that so we can actually get the ROI. But from that inception, from that request from retail ops, all the way to actually having that ROI was a journey and a process. But it all started off with a simple question. And so I just wanted to encourage everyone, CIOs in the room, sometimes it starts from a request, but it's that journey that eventually gives you that ROI in return as well.
I think my kind of learning about this is also, not to be ambiguous in what you want, right? But sometimes, we want to cover all, we want to make sure that all angles are being covered, and we make very high level, high statement around our objective. We finally can be a real showstopper for us. Right?
I actually like this topic as well, because this is what dear in my heart as well, with the whole aspect that moving the needle. It's actually aligned with what is in the finding within the playbook on the IDC as well. The one that moved the needle is actually the one that has a direct impact on productivity, efficiency, and business resiliency. Back a few years ago, I often used a Gartner opportunity radar. They call it the AI opportunity radar. To be able for you to be able to navigate through the changes for AI opportunity within your organization. So what it's saying is that actually within the Gartner AI Opportunity Radar, there are two sides. There are two flavors of AI. The first flavor is the everyday AI, which is the one that focuses on productivity, efficiency, and business resiliency. The one that tied into your business outcomes.
Yeah.
Right? And the one on the other side is the game-changing AI, which is focused on the competitive differentiations, creating new product and services, as well as creating new capabilities. So using this Gartner Opportunity Radar, this one is actually about 3 to 4 years old opportunity radar, but still very much relevant with what we are having in the market journey for AI transformation today.
I think it gives you a construct on how to better structure the approach, right?
Yes, yes, that's correct, Roy.
Good, thank you. So one more area, right? We see that in the playbook, it shows that 96% of organization is going to increase AI spend, but truly where the money is going to, right? So maybe we can also share from your perspective. The funds is there, but is it to the talent, to the infrastructure, platforms, or any other areas? Maybe Scott first.
Yeah, so there's really I've talked to hundreds of customers that are all at different various states of their AI journey, and there's like no right answer for what the mix is. Every customer is a little bit different. For a lot of our customers, we're actually seeing them spend a lot of money on just building foundational capabilities, making sure their data, their network, their security practices, that they've got like a ethical or responsible data practices in place. Those are like the foundational things that you need to build this AI on top of. Some companies don't have that in place, so they're not necessarily doing AI yet, but they're investing to be able to do AI in the future. The one thing I will say about the way that people should approach AI is don't assume that it's going to be consolidated anywhere. Don't assume you can do everything in the cloud. Don't assume you can do everything on-prem. This whole discussion we've had about hybrid AI, it really is important that we go into this AI knowing that some portions of the AI value chain are going to reside in the cloud, some are going to reside in the data center, and a lot of it, when you get to the inference state, is going to reside. Oh, sorry.
No.
I don't know if that was me or what.
No.
A lot of it is going to reside on the edge or on your desktop or on an edge device. So the value chain is going to be all throughout those. You don't want to try to consolidate everything. It's just not going to work due to latency, data movement costs, sovereignty of the data, security, things like that.
Indeed. Anything else to add, Heng? Yeah.
Yeah, I think again, because we at Synnex Metrodata, we work with a lot of partners that serving their customers, right? So through our findings, actually, what we know is that most of the CIOs are investing first in the infrastructures, like the compute, AI-ready compute, storage, networking. And then next would be the enterprise AI platform for the Gen AI, the responsible AI framework, the ML ops, DevOps, you name it. Because what happens is that the CIO realizes without these two, no AI project can run and scale. And then next, of course, you start to fund for AI operational use cases. Selective use cases, the one that works directly with your business operations that have direct impact. And then unfortunately though, for talent get funded the last. Because what happened is that the CIO, not only the CIO, but the management seeing talent as carrying higher risk, especially when you tie it into the whole operating expenses. That's why most of the customers today, they're relying a lot to their partner ecosystem as well as managed services partners.
But interestingly, based on the earlier conversation, we say that infrastructure versus talent seems to be a bigger gap than infrastructure, right?
It is.
Yeah.
I completely agree with that. That's why I think most of the companies, again, this is relevant with what I'm saying earlier, overestimated their capabilities in people, in the skills, in the skills and data, other than the infrastructure itself.
Yeah. Joy, anything?
Yeah, I think this is also to concur to both gentlemen's points, but I think I'm going to take a different perspective, and I'm thinking, because I know we've got partners in the room as
Yes.
well, yeah, and you guys service customers, so you may not be an end customer organization, and I'm here to also talk about that need. So we do see a lot of partners that we also work with, so our SIs or other ISVs that don't
Yes.
compete with Meld. Also making that decision, like Scott said, it's really dependent on the customer. But if any of your CIOs are in the SI space, I think definitely investing in talent so that you can get those trusted advisor network building, definitely data specialists as well. We do see a lot of our SIs actually looking into that as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Good. So maybe in terms of a final or closing comments for our CIO peers, right? Maybe 3 parts to this, and each take turns to actually share this. What is one mistake you want CIO not to repeat in the AI journey? What is one investment? Oops. Somebody, okay, no problem. What is one investment or capabilities that you think we should double down in 2026 based on what you currently know? And probably what is one sentence that does AI success actually mean to you or your organization? Maybe Heng first.
Okay, I think in my perspective, because I also read the CIO playbook as well, and what the findings said is about poor data quality and governance. And if you know, and I think everybody here agree that the field of AI is data. So hence, without having the right data management platform and data governance, you cannot have AI to scale.
Indeed.
So you have to double down your investment on data. Especially on the data management.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And I'd like to share as well as my closing, because again, with the topic today that has been highlighted on the 2026 is all about agentic AI. But what happened is with the agentic AI is that you have to understand between the ambition and the gap of the readiness itself. Because agentic AI only works if you have clean data, you have well-defined work process, and clear decision boundaries that build on AI responsible AI framework. So that is my take on agentic AI, because we are upcoming into the 2026
into that
and
phase.
looking forward to agentic AI.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. How about Joy?
Yeah, I think for myself, similar to what Heng was saying, but with a different take, I think investment-wise, anything that helps build your infrastructure, and I say infrastructure very loosely because it means different things to different people. If you are an SI-based company, building your infrastructure could mean investing in the right field team that can help you grow and scale AI developments for your end customers. So that could be, investment in making sure that there's good training, good education, and stuff like that. And if you're a cloud-first company already, you have good data management processes. Infrastructure means shoring up your edge devices to make sure that there's no downtime for AI. If you're storing stuff, make sure you do that. Yeah.
Some very fundamental skills.
Some very
right?
fundamental. Yeah. So those are the things that you should really invest on. Anything that is infrastructure to your company. And I think in terms of advice of what AI success means to our company, I think it's definitely making a use case tangible, but also something that is relevant to multiple groups of people. I think success, which I think Scott mentioned, it's a key theme. Success metrics right now is really not just tied to one person. I think success metrics actually have to have multiple business groups or multiple departments participate in it so that, an ROI that is shared is an ROI that will scale.
Everybody must have a skin in the game.
That's right. A seat at the table to make something work. So yeah, that would be what it means to me. So yeah, thank you guys.
Thanks, Joy. And Scott, please.
All righty, good. So a couple of ideas. One is governance is really important that you start off with really good governance around data, around how you use AI. These AI tools are incredibly powerful, and they're getting even more powerful with agentic. If you don't understand how that AI is working, if you can't explain it, it's not transparent, it's probably best you not use it, because the outcome, the downside of it could actually be very, very dangerous. So That would be one thing, is really focus on governance up front, putting down the right foundation for how you're going to use the data, how you're going to use the AI. So that was one thing. Heng mentioned agentic. We didn't get a chance to talk enough about agentic, but one bit of advice around agentic is it's incredibly powerful, but you need to treat those agents just like you would treat an employee. Like when we sign into our VPN, we have credentials. They're short-lived credentials. We do checks on those things like that. Your agents need to have the exact same kind of security protocols that a human employee would have, or it can get into really, really bad problems because it's going to be off doing things autonomously, and unless it's checked, it could go in the wrong direction very quickly. And then the last thing I'll mention, just a quick one, is embrace this concept of hybrid AI. Trying to consolidate and do everything in one location is not the right approach. Accept the fact that the best way to do it is to take value from the cloud, do some value in the data center, and do a lot of your inferencing value right there at the edge, whether it's in a workstation or an edge device, or your laptop or your phone.
Thank you. Thank you, the panelists. Really appreciate all the sharing and the insights. And I hope, the audience also find it insightful. With this, we close off the executive panel. Thank you very much.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.